and thought fit to approve a recommendation from the committee to grant life membership to Mr. William Morris, in brackets Bill Johnson. I'd like to provide an overview of the rationale for this motion, if possible. By way of background, you've all got the explanatory notes, or been provided the explanatory notes. And by way of overview, I'd like to spend a few minutes summarising Bill's, in brackets, or in quotes, distinguished service to the club as a member, which is the words used in accordance with Rule 12.1 of the Constitution. Bill joined Kooyonga in 1969 and has been a playing member for his entire 54 years of membership. He joined as an avid sportsman, having represented South Australia at Linton Cup level in tennis, captaining the state team, and also playing league football for Norwood before returning to PAC Old Scholars, his other home, where he was captain coach for 6 years and has hardly missed a game for the last 60 years. He spent 27 years on council at PAC from 1973 to 2000, including chair, and 28 years on the PAC Endowment Fund from 1981 to 2009. Golf was a bit more of a challenge for Bill though. He was a solid golfer without being outstanding. He's looking at me harshly at the moment. Having played most of his days in B grade, he won the B grade trophy once, made the final one other time and the semi-finals twice. I note that he spent 2 stints in A grade for less than a month in each of those stints, Bill. Perhaps he might reflect on the round that got him into A grade, but I'm not sure whether that's going to be his response for at the bar. Bill served on committee for 8 years, before a further 2 years as vice captain to David Martin and then as captain himself from 1997 to 1999. He later served as vice president and president during the years 2010 to 2015. Amongst his significant achievements during his term as captain included the installation of the club's first automatic watering system, which we continue to use today, the appointment of Stephen Newell as course superintendent, who served for 19 years and who Richard served underneath and has come back to serve us now, the establishment of the forward planning subcommittee jointly with David Martin, which focused on a strategic plan for the next 25 years. He acted as Master of Ceremonies for the 75th celebrations, and he represented Kooyonga at the 1997 President's Cup at Royal Melbourne, where he's got another story to tell, which I'm sure will be in his response. Since completing his office bearer duties, he has served in the unofficial role as the club's historian and archivist since 2010, writing numerous articles for club newsletters and researching the club history with fellow archivist Grant Laidlaw. This work and the review of drafts by both Bill and Grant was invaluable to Sally Collins in her writing of the club's history book to be released later this year. As recently as last year, with his health strained at times, Bill has been an active and enthusiastic member of the Centenary Task Force and was instrumental in the R&A being involved in our centenary celebrations, which resulted in the official toast being made and performed by Dominic Wall, Director Asia Pacific of the R&A, as well as Dominic presenting a plate from the R&A to Kooyonga, which, as I said earlier, was, as I understand, one of only 2 provided to non-royal clubs worldwide. Bill also reluctantly contributed to the centenary video, where his love and passion for Kooyonga was firmly on display, explaining our history. He has served as a wonderful sounding board to many committee members and past captains, and personally I've been the beneficiary of many chats of his counsel and his experience in the times that I've known Bill, and certainly in the last few years. Bill's a huge supporter of his wife, Yvonne, who is a past women's captain, past club champion and state champion, and together they've been pillars of Kooyonga's social calendar, attending almost all social events until only recent years when ill health has prevented one or both of them. They played in the RS Thompson for 39 years straight without a win, showing their competitive nature perhaps. I'm sure they might have had a few discussions from time to time in the car home. Bill has given to Kooyonga in many ways during his entire membership, and with Yvonne is in the top 20 donors to the Kooyonga Foundation, further underlying his support for junior and pennant golf at our wonderful club. Our current and past pennant players will all know Bill, and probably most met him at the matches where he's been a constant figure for the last 40 years. He is a competitive man, but he's also compassionate. His loyalty is unchallengeable to Yvonne, to PAC, to the Adelaide Workers' Homes, where he served for 40 years, including 25 years as chairman, and to Kooyonga, in his words, his club. Bill is passionate about Kooyonga, about the standards of the club, about ensuring its future and reputation, and has demonstrated this time and again in his 54 years of membership. He lives and breathes all of the values that we at Kooyonga hold dear, and he represents the very fabric of this wonderful club. The club and all of its members have been beneficiaries of Bill's efforts, commitment, dedication, time and passion. And the club's reputation has been enhanced by his reputation and his service. I personally feel very proud to call him my friend, and I know that is the way that most of you who know him and most members who know him feel. I commend the recommendation of the committee to grant life membership to Bill Johnson, Mr. W.M. Johnson, and I open the floor for any questions or anyone who would like to speak for or against the motion. If there's no one who would like to speak, can I have a proposer? Thank you, Ross. And a seconder, Wolford. Thank you very much. Those that are voting manually, a yellow card for a yes and a red card for a no. We've got 3 out of 4 and 1 voting. So the motion is passed. Congratulations, Bill. I'd love you to come up and receive the certificate and respond if you would like to.
Well, hello everybody. I think you went over the top a bit, Mr. Captain. I'm very appreciative of what you said. I'm humbled by the members of the Kooyonga Golf Club and the way you've accepted it. Yes, everything. I joined in 19 whatever, and I didn't play a lot of golf in the early stages because we were playing other sports, and we had a grass tennis court at home, so summers were out for a start. So I played no junior golf or anything like that. But during the course of the 1980s, I was mentored by 2 very powerful people who were members of this club in Bay McDonald and Keith Lewis, who suggested that it would be probably appropriate if I stood for the committee, which I had not obviously considered at the time, and got on the committee and then served under a number of good captains. And in the late 1990s, the mid-1990s, David Martin asked me to run as his vice, which I did. We were a good team together. David did a marvellous lot for this club. He's got a lot of friends in this room. Passed away far too early. Yes, it was he and I that contrived between us in many, many talks over a drink or two or a coffee or two, without the forward plan, and we even discussed people as the people that we thought perhaps in the short to mid-term should be ones that would lead the club. I was lucky enough to become then captain after him. In that planning, John Blunden was to be my vice captain, which he was, and nobody could have had a better vice captain than John. Very solid, straight, quietly spoken, but very, very deep type of person. I've had a lot to do with him in the building industry before getting together in this thing, and he was part of a committee that was very, very strong. There's a couple of, I was very fortunate and blessed with members of the committee that I had at the time. There's a couple in the room tonight, in John Bishop and John Garrett. I don't think anybody else is here. Some of them have passed on, because it is 27 years ago. And John did his job very, very well, and then of course we'd planned in our own way that John Garrett would become the captain after John, which he did. John Garrett was a very fine captain of this club. Great to see you here tonight, Jack, too. Very, very forceful. But one thing about John, he did his homework before he moved, and he did speak to people. And I can tell you firsthand that this, because my wife Yvonne was captain of the Associates at the same time that John was the captain of the club, and they worked in very harmoniously together. And I think it's fair to say that the Associates and the members weren't, they were as close then as they ever were, and that's come from my wife, who put in a lot of time for this club, as did John. After John, there was any influence that I might have had sort of waned after that for a while. A series of very, very good captains that we had, who all planted their own specific way on the club, and kept this wonderful organisation going in a very, very strong direction. And it was probably, I wrote a few articles for that was mentioned about past players and past administrators, etc., which seemed to make the members quite happy and interested. And that's one thing about this great club. There has been a great interest in the history of the organisation, both from administrative people and also from the general members. And those articles apparently hit the spot, and I got a bit involved. And had no formal training in any archival type work, and did put a few things together, and then realised that, hang on, this is a bit bigger job than I'd anticipated. Adrian Etko was very, very supportive. That probably kept me going. And Brett also, since he came, has also been very supportive of putting this sort of stuff together. And but I'm a bit critical of myself in a way that I'm the sort of bloke that hits the tops of the waves and goes on to the next thing. And I realised that we needed somebody that was far more detailed, and that's when I asked Grant Laidlaw, a very close old friend of mine from football and playing days, who was a very meticulous person who wrote everything down and catalogued everything, and between us we were a very, very good team. And I'm very, very pleased that a lot of the stuff in the cataloguing that we did over over 9 years has helped Sally in putting the book together. I think that's a wonderful thing, and I can't wait to see the end result. Some of the stuff that I've read that she has written is written in very, very plain, straightforward English, which is very simple, and I think it'll be a very, very good product by the time it's released, and hopefully by the end of this year. Hopefully a bit quicker than that, but that's probably the plan. Then out of the years have gone by, and it got to when the building for the extensions came, everything was chucked in containers and what have you, and we lost our way a little bit then because we never had anything. All our work was either there or here, or nobody knew, or what have you. It was a bit unfortunate, but nevertheless, most of it's been unearthed, and hopefully it'll be helpful, as I said before. And it was about the same time that Crawford came to me and said, look, we're getting close to the centenary celebrations, which is what we were doing as far as putting all this stuff together for the person writing the book. That was our aim. And he said, why, I want you to come and sit on the committee. I said, oh, Crawford, I said, you don't want the old like me up there. I mean, just because I was captain during the time of our 75th, you don't want, and I said to him on a couple of occasions, you shouldn't set your eyes on things that we did 25 years ago. You want to set your eyes on doing more than that. Go up higher, go hard, go large, I think is the term. And he would have done it anyway, but I probably helped to encourage him. And well, the writings on the wall there, that we had a marvellous time. And I would like to, I can't say that I was on the committee, but he did co-opt me, I see was the terminology. I was happy to be in a co-opted position and attend some of the meetings, most of the meetings. And I'd like to put on record, it's been said before, but this is from a layman point of view rather than from an internal administration or from the captain or whatever. Each month when we met, we had a broadsheet, spreadsheet given to us about the things that we discussed the month before and action to be taken and what have you. And it was always mostly 90% action, Amanda, action, Brett, action, captain, action. And those three people predominantly put that whole up, and they had to run the club at the same time, which was very difficult. I would also say that the wine, Michael Gilroy was, he did a heck of a lot of work there. I know he loved going to the Barossa every week to sample things and get a taste for it and bring a couple home. Anyway, he did a wonderful job, put a lot of time in, and I think, I'm a lager man myself, so I can't say firsthand that it's good. I hear from the members that it's a very acceptable way, and I think he should be included from the wine perspective. But the other three, for the administrators, they put an enormous amount of work, and most things were done on time per the spreadsheets. And I think it was a wonderful time, and culminating in the night itself, which was absolutely outstanding. I would, not that I'm looking to criticise, but I think the person doing the MC could have been a bit stronger in handling the crowd. But other than that, the whole thing was 110%. So we move on, and I'm terribly thankful to the process that's gone. I understand that friend Ross Dillon put something together to start with some time ago, and it went through the process of the various committees, and I'm thankful for all those people that were on those committees. That it comes to you, the members. You're the one that made the decision. The committee can only recommend to you, and the fact that you've adopted it has made me very humble, and I thank you for it. I'd like to also just say that I wouldn't be standing here tonight if it wasn't for Yvonne. I spent a lot of time doing, as the captain mentioned at PAC and how they'd work at homes. And there'd be times when I'd going to meetings and what have you, but she never ever complained about that. I suppose it was because she thought, or at least she's out there doing it for the greater good, but she never complained, and she loves this place as much as I do, and it's formed a very, very solid part of our marriage. And I've said to a lot of people over the years that a successful marriage can only really be successful if the people concerned have got a lot in common. Well, we certainly have a lot in common. We've all got our own space here and our own space there, but we do in sport, and Kooyonga were very, very critical in our lives. And incidentally, we were just on a personal note, we celebrated our 65th wedding anniversary a couple of months ago, so you can see that worked in our case. That's not to say that, well, I'll tell you, I'm going to take a couple of minutes, if you don't mind, Mr. Captain, to talk about her, because our paths crossed when we were about 13 or 14 years of age. We were both selected in an elite tennis squad to train at the Memorial Drive under coach, then the Davis Cup player Len Schwartz. And Yvonne was picked in the Wilson Cup side, which is an under-19 teams competition for girls, and I was for the boys in the Linton Cup the same year. We went to Melbourne for the Nationals. We didn't see one another much over there. Our manager was Adrian Quist, who was a well-known Australian tennis player. And we came back and we didn't see one another other than down at tennis coaching lessons and what have you. And then the football season came, well, I went in one direction. The next season came, we were picked again, she in the Wilson Cup, and this time we went to Sydney. And we did get together a little bit over there. I remember going to the pictures one night with her. We were staying in the King's Cross and they were down at Rose Bay. And I walked down there and we had a couple of chats on the sitting on the wall at Rose Bay where the aeroplane, the water flying planes came in, and that was all very good. It wasn't very serious at that stage. And but another football season came, but the next season we sort of got together and went from there. And as I said, we've been married for 65 years. So then she became the #1 player in the state, ranked. So I only got to #4, but she got to #1. And she got to the stage where she either anybody that had to be was any good that wanted to get on the international stage had to leave Adelaide, like Adrian Quist, Ken McGregor, those sort of people. They couldn't have done it if they'd just been here in Adelaide. So she had the choice to go interstate, which she didn't want to do, of course. And and she was #1. And there's only one way to go from #1, and of course you know where that is. Yeah. After a while, after somebody comes along and starts knocking you off. So she turned professional. She coached at various girls' schools, and there'd be 1 or 2 girls in this room who would remember her coaching, and she did that for 9 or 10 years, and then with a couple of kids in the middle. She was a very, very busy lady, and she really hadn't started golf until she was into her 30s. She was asked to become a member of Mount Osmond. She played in the Moller Cup, which is a ladies' competition up there, mainly in the Hills clubs. And made quite a name for herself in the match play competition. That was her old tennis business coming out. And then 2 ladies from here suggested that she'd be probably better off if she came down to Kooyonga, which she did. It wasn't long before she was playing in the pennants here, and played in the A pennants. They won on a number of occasions during her time, and she won a club championship, became captain of the associates, And then I suppose because of her friendship with Pauline Sanderson, I'm not saying this really was the case, but it probably was, that she got involved in women's golf and the competitive side of that, finished up captaining the state side and in women's golf for a number of years. I did forget to mention that during the course of her tennis days in the serious senior ranks, she captained South Australia in interstate matches against Victoria, which I was lucky enough to play in myself against the men, and of course, and she captained the team against the women's team against the women. So it's probably not a bad repartee for her, for anybody to captain their state in two major sporting disciplines, which she did, and I don't think I think it's pretty good for a young, good-looking blonde girl with a big forehead and a decent pair of legs. There we are. And, as I said, we're both unable to play golf like we used to be able to play, or neither of us could play 18 holes. I do come down sometimes on a Tuesday to have a few holes and a couple of lagers and then go home, which is perhaps what Crawford was relating to, because when I joined in 1969, it was all golf on a beautiful golf course, great club, great members, good friends, everything going for it. But over the years, the pendulum changed a bit. Now, really, from my perspective, this is my club. It just happens to have a golf course. I'll continue to come as long as I can. I'd like to be able to play more. But we've both got little ticker problems that we struggle with from time to time. So my advice to all of you is don't get old. But you go into things like Kooyonga or administratively, what have you, not to get rewards, but when they do happen, I've got to tell you that it's a wonderful feeling, and I appreciate the friendships and the contact people have made to me since it was known that I was going to be nominated for such a position. I've greatly appreciated it. I've loved going to watch the Simpson Cup. I remember good old days with Dean Willing and Jeff Renneberg and John and David had taken it on board, and I just hope that we can keep the flag flying there, because it's terrific to know that Kooyonga is one of the best clubs in the state, if not the best club in the state, and we want it to stay there, and I'm proud to be part of it. And I thank you very much for listening to my ramble tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. That was wonderful, and an award well deserved. Congratulations.